Alright, so the agenda of this demo is to discuss rates inside CaseQube. We have an app called Billing Setup. This is where you can create timekeepers, define rates, and set up rate groups. So now that we're in Billing Setup, and we're in Timekeeper specifically, we can see the tabs up there are timekeepers, rates, rate groups. A timekeeper is essentially a wrapper around a user. It can be an internal user with a login or even someone without a CaseQube or Salesforce license, like an external contractor who still needs their time tracked. You can add these people manually. To create a timekeeper, all you need to do is click New. So now we clicked New here, and we can say call this Timekeeper 27 and enter the cost for that resource. The cost field is optional. It's mainly for tracking profitability if your firm needs to compare billable rates against resource costs. The most important field here is the entity, which ties the timekeeper to the right person or role. This is where you connect the timekeeper with people. If it's an internal user, you simply link it to that user record. If it's an external resource, someone without a login, you can leave the user field blank. You can also associate a general ledger account if you want to include this timekeeper's activity in your profit and loss or balance sheet. This allows you to track accounts receivable and accounts payable tied directly to the timekeeper, since CaseQube is also a full accounting system. So I'm going to click Save now, and this just created a timekeeper setup. The next step is to define that. To do this, I simply add a new rate. So we see here related details and rates. So we can go into rates and we can click new rate. This rate is considered a global rate. That means if no specific rate is set at the client level, or matter level, the system automatically applies the global rate. If you don't define a rate at all, global, client, or matter level, the system will display an error when you try to enter time, letting you know that no valid rate was found. So now that we're into rates, we can click new rate. We can click active. We can say August 1st as the date, and we can say end date as August 30th. And let's put a rate as $450 per hour. I'll confirm this, and now we have a working rate structure for this timekeeper. So we just confirmed this. So now that we've entered the rate, the system has created a timekeeper rate of $450. One powerful feature here is that the rates can also be tied to roles. For example, let's say you have an attorney principal role with a rate of $500 per hour, but that same attorney performs other work that should be billed at a different rate. You can define separate rates for the same person based on the role they're performing. For this example, I'll leave it at $450. So now let's go to the rate group tab and talk about rate groups. So now that we're here, a rate group is simply a collection of rates bundled together. This is especially useful if your firm frequently uses the same set of rates for certain matters. For instance, imagine you have a dedicated team working on family law matters such as divorce cases. Instead of manually assigning individual rates every time, you can create a divorce law rate group that contains all the relevant timekeepers and their rates. Then when you start a new matter of that type, you can apply the entire group in one step. So in this scenario, the family law team is working on a divorce case. Let's say we want to set the rates as follows. Attorney for $500 per hour, paralegal for $200 per hour, office manager for $100 per hour. We can bundle these into a rate group. This saves time. Instead of manually assigning each rate for every new matter, we can just apply the group in one click. You can even automate this. If the matter type is set to family law, the system can automatically apply the appropriate rate group. For now, I'll create it manually. Let's go. Now, we're already in the rate group, so let's click new. Let's name it divorce law. And let's say the start date is August 1st, and let's say active. And let's put the timekeeper as 85. And let's set the amount as $350. And let's add another one. Let's say, instead of linking it to a specific person, I can also assign rates to roles. So for example, let's say admin staff as roles. And let's do it hourly. And let's say they'll be billed $100 per hour. This way, no matter who logs the time under that role, the correct rate is applied consistently. So as you can see, we can create these types of groups. For simplicity, I'll just save this example with 2 entries. So let's save this. So the key takeaway here is that CaseQube gives you flexibility in how you set rates. You can define rates by timekeeper. You can define rates by role. You can create a rate group that combines both timekeeper-based and role-based rates. So let's see how this works in the context of an actual client and matter. So let's go to matter management and let's create a new matter and let's call it family law. Select the record type as family law. Let's call this name, this is demo 99, and let's call let's say a new party for a client, and let's say customer, and let's call the party name demo 99 client, and let's say the first name is demo and the last name is 99 client. And I'll leave the rest of the details blank so that we can focus on the rates. So I clicked save and I clicked save. This brings us to the typical matter information screen. Again, I'll skip over the general details and go straight to the billing configuration. So now let's go to the billing details tab. Inside the billing details tab, we have billing settings. This is where you can define rates specifically for this client or for this matter. If I want to see a client level rate, I simply click new client rate. For this example, I can put it as timekeeper 27 and put the rate amount as $500 and put the start date as the same start date. So let's say August 1st. And let's confirm that. So now any time entries for this client will use the client level rate unless a matter specific rate is defined, in which case the matter rate will take priority. I'll go ahead and set the client level rate for them $500 per hour with the same, so we just did that. So we set the client level rate for $500 per hour with the same start date as before. And now that I confirmed it, the new client level rate will override the $450 global rate we defined earlier. Now, next, I can also assign a rate group at the client level. So for example, let's add a rate group and let's say divorce law, and we can add rates like that. This automatically pulls in all of the rates we defined in that group. From here, I can still override any of those rates if needed. If I don't change them, they'll use the default values from the rate group. Now let's see it in action. So let's go into matter billing and let's create a manual time entry for 2 hours. Let's create a new time entry. And let's say for 2 hours, we created this. And let's say the timekeeper is timekeeper 27. And when I confirm this entry, the system applies, you can see down here, the system applies the $500 rate per hour because that's the client level rate, which takes priority over the global rate. So now let's go back to the billing settings. One quick additional note before we wrap up this section. If I had entered the time under a role like admin staff, the system would automatically apply the rate defined for that role at the relevant level, matter, client, or global, following the same hierarchy of priority. So let's go to the matter team and let's add a matter team member. So let's say admin staff, and let's select Ratchet as the timekeeper, and let's click save. I could have also added Ratchet through the matter team setup, but for this example, I'll add him directly here. Next, I'll create a new time entry for Ratchet by going into billing details, matter billing, and new time entry. So let's create a new time entry for Ratchet. So it's already here, and let's say 1 hour. Oops, I said 1 hour. When I confirm this time entry, the system will automatically, let's just do that. The system automatically, as you can see down here, applies $100 per hour rate because in my rate settings, admin staff is set to $100 and Ratchet has been assigned that role in this matter. This demonstrates how CaseQube seamlessly applies the correct rate based on the combination of role, timekeeper, and rate hierarchy. From here, I can proceed to billing directly from this screen, generating invoices based on these entries. And that wraps up the rate section of our demo.